You're tuned into the It's Real podcast with your hosts, Kayla Calendar and Andrew Yagi. Each week, we'll talk about what happens behind the scenes working full-time in real estate and share with you real-life stories, our successes and failures as we work to help consumers and industry professionals reach their real estate and real-life goals. Here we go.
It's episode 64, season 3 of the It's Real podcast. I'm Kayla Calendar, and I'm a mortgage lender.
And I'm Andrew Yagi. I'm a real estate agent. Happy season 3, Kayla.
Hey, can you believe it?
Hey, we made it.
Look out. How do you feel?
I feel really good. I feel good to be by your side in all things real estate and mortgage. And it's still to be continuing, the conversations. I know there are some people out there that they probably roll their eyes when they see this go live and think, oh man, not this again. But I also know that there are a lot of people that really enjoy this just from some of the messages both you and I get, the phone calls, the conversations, and ultimately, people trusting us, with their real estate mortgage business.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I've gotten so many people that still I just texted you the other day. I had a client from years ago, didn't even know she would watch it, reached out and said, hey, I love just hearing the local real estate update because there's not a lot of that. It's national news. It's what's going on in San Antonio and what's going on in New York. There's not a lot for our area. And I think people appreciate it. So I'm glad that we can be on season 3 and continue to provide that information to our local communities.
Right on, Kayla.
Yeah.
Amen. So what's new with Kayla Calendar Mortgage in Fargo? You obviously made a big transition kind of at the end of the year. And so what's going on just even in the market with clients? Yeah. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing just new energy. Of course, people want to circle back after the holidays. So I feel like last week it was still holiday-ish. And so I'm starting to get people that are coming back out from last year. I'm seeing clients that are finally just kind of coming to terms with, hey, I see rates aren't really going anywhere. Let's just do this. And so there's just a new energy. But, yesterday I had a client that made an offer on a home and they went $15,000 over asking and they lost. Now, It was an FHA offer, so that could be why too, if there's other conventionals. But the reason I tell you that is because I haven't seen a client lose to 7, I haven't seen them lose like that and see 7 offers in a while. And so that shows me that there's other serious people, that there might be more competition. So it's buzzing, it's busy, it's good energy, but I think it's going to be similar to last year. But I think we're going to see more buyers come in, more sellers, more inventory, because I think people have realized, hey, we got to do this now. Otherwise, we might be in the same position in a year. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on my end.
Yeah. Well, our market, in the Fergus Falls area is generally a lot slower than Fargo. Number one, as we talk, we just don't have the new construction, although it's been fun as we've been working internally on building a new build. We're almost done with it. It should be painted and everything this week, and the cabinets come. And so hopefully by the end of January, we'll have everything finished and be able to get it on the market by February. Test it out. We've got a goal to build at least 3 more this year. I was hoping to maybe do more, but I think we're still kind of in the exploratory mode with a few different options in a few different areas. And again, even finding lots that are ready to go that have infrastructure is really challenging here. Yeah. But I always notice, Kayla, when we turn the calendar January 1st, it just seems that there are a lot of people that, okay, we're thinking about our new goals. We're thinking about, whether it's health and wellness or, whether it's something career or family. Real estate goals are usually one of those things. And so we even notice activity in our market. Once the calendar turns, we start seeing a lot more people out and looking, which is really awesome. And I've even, been trying to counsel some of my clients whose house maybe didn't sell because we listed it last fall and things were pretty quiet from August on, that, hey, you might want to take a break right now, or you say you don't want to move during the winter. Realistically, now is going to be a better time because you're not going to have as many It looks like you're back. A little technical issue.
Little technical difficulty, a little New Year difficulty. I love it.
Did Windows decided it wanted to install its updates right about now?
Yeah, like, we ladies tend to just like snooze, and they're like, finally, it's your season 3, your 2025. We're coming in and we're forcing it.
I was just speaking of technology. Do you remember Y2K and the supposed Y2K bug?
Yeah, I do. It was terrifying.
Right. And I still remember, just because I was kind of a young techie and I was paging through these like computer part catalogs and building computers, and it had like you could get like a card to put like a chip card, like a graphics card or whatever, but something to deal with the Y2K bug to put inside your computer to help counteract it. And then we know, obviously, the calendar turned and nothing really happened. Although I do remember being at a New Year's party with my parents and their friends, and at midnight we were tasked with shutting the power off at the house to make everybody think that there was a Y2K bug.
Oh my gosh! So did you? Did you actually?
Did.
And did people freak out?
Well, not really, because they could see the yard light was still on outside.
Oh, well, it was a good try. I remember going to like Sam's Club, or I don't even remember where, with my parents, and loading up on like granola bars and batteries and flashlights just in case, and refilling the tub up with water. And yeah, it was wild. And you ask like Gen Zers now, like, do you know what Y2K is? And they have no idea.
What Y2 what?
Y2, huh? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I do remember.
Cool. Well, so that's really interesting, to kind of recap and to hear about the housing market. And yeah, it's been good to see more activity, even though it's been bitterly cold. Like I felt a little bit more optimistic, just because it's like, hey, it's sunny out, like it hasn't been cloudy and gloomy. And I just feel like, spring is going to be here before you know it, Kayla.
I know. And I think too, like, when it's cloudy and it's cold, people don't want to go really out and about. But again, when all it takes is sun or a little bit nicer weather, and around here, again, it's not like we're in Texas or California where it's probably always, busy, but here it's like, that's like a renewed energy when people feel good. And I think this year, I have a really good feeling about the buyers, the sellers, everyone having just a better perspective and a better attitude. I can't explain it, but I foresee it being a very busy year.
Well, I think it's really interesting too, Kayla. You had shared this article with me and just talking about the best places to buy a house in 2025, the up and coming markets. And what is number 2 on the list?
Hey, Fargo. Say what? Yes. Fargo. That's interesting, right? Like,
yeah. And
I love seeing that, because we're also seeing a ton of options for new builds. We see there's a lot of land to build on, but you can see with this, it has kind of a graph here, but it has home value projection. It has home value change. Typical, is that typical home price? Yes. Typical home price, 301,000. When you think about it, I've seen a lot of people moving to Fargo from other areas, and it's a lot to do with the cost of living. And, when you're out in other bigger cities, it's really difficult to purchase a home with rates the way that they've been. With, you think about even special assessments here, it doesn't account for the cost that you're really incurring in these other cities. So it's really cool to see Fargo on the list.
Yeah. Well, I guess ultimately, obviously the income's pretty good. The cost of living's pretty low. I find it, I'm a little bit pessimistic when it says, prices are going to fall 2.6%.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
I don't really see that happening, just because, again, unless we do see, some prices come down, for instance, I think it's not likely. But I know there are some markets, where prices are falling. And we can talk about that a little bit later, as I've got another article we can talk about. But yeah, I know, like Metro Atlanta, for instance, and in some of the larger cities, prices are down by like 3.5%. Austin, Texas, is down 7.7%. Dallas about 3%. But in some of those areas, they've just been build, and a lot of people relocating there, during the pandemic and other times, and I think that's leveled off, or as they say in some areas, people are going back home.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, when you think about too, like you and I have spoken on this before, clients getting more comfortable with interest rates, clients getting more comfortable with payments. Okay, I realize after 2 years of rates in the sixes that the only thing that's really changing in our area, Andy, is the price of homes is going up, which means your value is going up too. So whichever way you look at it, you don't want to pay a high amount for a home, but yet you want the value to be high. But if your value is high, you pay more property taxes. So the reason I bring that up is that, as prices go up and rates stay pretty much the same, you think of a $400,000 home, you think about 5% appreciation year over year, that's 40 grand over 2 years that you're losing out in value. That's 40,000 extra dollars that you're going to pay to the builder or to someone selling. And so I feel like there's this kind of aha moment with buyers right now that they're like, okay, I get it. Rates are not dropping to 3-4%. Prices aren't coming down. I mean, I haven't seen it around here, but I feel like there's just, like I said, a different energy now.
Well, speaking of appreciation and mortgage rates and everything, we're just coming off the holidays, so I feel like I'm going to share this, Kayla. But you're getting old when you watch Home Alone and wonder how much their mortgage is. So
Yeah.
What year did Home Alone come out?
1992. I don't know. I feel like 1990. Okay, 1990. So we were like, what? Were we like 3? Jeez, we were like 3 years old when that came out.
Oh yeah, I was like 4.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that movie was out a long time ago. But anyway, so we know we're getting old.
Yeah.
We wonder how much their mortgage is. So you talk about appreciation. So I also came across that house just changed hands, Kayla. So did you know the Home Alone house just sold in December for $5 million?
Holy, I did not. That's insanity.
No word yet on the new owner's plans for a security system. Haha. But so last sold in 2012 for $1.6 million and sold in December for
my gosh,
1.5. So think about that.
12 years.
Think if the McAllisters had held on to that house, Kayla.
Yeah, call them McAllisters. I want to know what she did for a living with her like beige suits and her like, I don't have time to pack, honey. Like, and you know what? She was the one really trying to find Kevin. Like, how did she manage this all? That's what I'm thinking. How did she manage that mortgage? What did she do? Like,
and how did they afford to bring Uncle Frank and his whole family?
Yeah, what did she do?
Well, Kayla, so speaking of mortgages and rates and everything, what are we seeing rates at this week?
Yeah, they've been pretty flat for the last couple of weeks, but yeah, right around that 7% for a 30-year fixed mortgage. FHA 30-year fixed right around that 6.5, 6.42. So been pretty steady if you look up the historical rate average. So again, I remember when we were talking before, we saw it, when I look at last year, we saw them dip in the 6s. We saw them get really high, high 7s for a while. North Dakota housing, we're seeing, those have been still pretty steady. Those rates don't change as frequently. But we're seeing rates with North Dakota housing, as you can see, 5.45 is the low end, lower income, no down payment assistance, all the way up to, if you are, again, roots is if you have higher income or you are a repeat buyer, getting down payment assistance, 8.1. I still have clients that seek those options. They want the assistance and they're repeat buyers. So not uncommon to see, but quite a swing there from 5.45 to 8.1, like we always say. But right now, most people are in that first home section. So between 5.9 essentially and 5.95.
Sure. Pretty attractive rates if you qualify for that program and the house works for you.
Yeah, it's very popular. And I would say I do, when I look at my business, probably about a quarter of it, a third of it, just depending on the year, is North Dakota housing. And they are one of the best housing programs in the nation. I've talked to other lenders and they don't even use their bond programs as much because they have other ones, but nothing really compares to this in the state of North Dakota. It's an excellent program.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Minnesota, does not have spectacular programs. It just seems like they're not as readily available, or and lenders are not even that knowledgeable about them. So kudos to North Dakota for doing a good job.
Yeah, and I know North Dakota housing isn't necessarily, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but I'll bring it up. It's not necessarily credit score specific. If you get what's called an approve eligible, or you get your automated underwriting findings, it's a system that we put everything in and we push it and it says, yes, they're good or no, they're not. it's not necessarily based on credit score. So you may be able to get this program, have a lower credit score, and you see the rates here. Other rates are based off of down payment, based off of primary, second home, based off of your credit score, based off of so many factors. Here, this is the rate regardless of your credit score. So it's also really a great incentive for those that are rebuilding their credit.
Sure. Fantastic.
Yeah. So we're seeing those rates hang on pretty strong.
Awesome. Well, what else is new in Kayla's world, or any big changes or anything that you're looking forward to? Goals in the new year?
I feel like I could talk about goals forever. I feel like I could talk about things that you want to implement. But, as we look into the new year, one of my, I think, of professional goals, it's really easy to say as a lender or as a realtor, I want to hit this many units. I want to hit this much volume. For me, I'm really focused on education. Again, I always have been, but really educating people and giving them the experience, because I am seeing so many clients just scared to have the conversation. Or I had a client last week that was so defeated, Andy, so defeated. And they came to me with just no hope. And then I saw them turn instantly when they spoke to me. And so professionally, I'm really focusing on education. How can I get more content out, whether that be social media, this podcast, whether it's, I'm giving my clients the option to do phone, but I really push them towards Zoom so that we can screen share. Husband might be at work, wife might be at her work, and we can all hop on together. But when you see people really understand how it works, they're confident. And when they're confident, they're going to make confident decisions when it comes to buying a home. So I would say that's a really big professional goal of mine. What about you, Andy? Because I know there's been some big changes in your career lately.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, well, we talked about yours last month, and you kind of moving from FIBT to Guild Mortgage, and so I think that's awesome. It's fun to kind of see you grow. And Kayla, we're growing right alongside you. I've been 4 full years in real estate. This is starting year 5, and we affiliated early on after a brief stint with Remax with eXp Realty, which was a cloud-based brokerage, and had some good friends that were there, and it just made sense at that point in time, because I've always been the type that, hey, I want to do my own thing. I want to do, what works for me. And being at eXp was kind of like being your own broker without legally being your broker, which I couldn't be at that time.
Yeah.
So we had a great run with eXp Realty, but we've just switched over and kind of dropped the eXp, and now we're just Andrew Yagi Real Estate, which I'm actually looking behind me now on camera. I'm seeing that we might need to
change that out there, buddy.
and can get rid of the eXp that's there now. And so really we're looking at, and I think with all of the changes that have happened and are still coming in real estate, I mean, the real estate industry has been a little bit of a dumpster fire this last year, just with lawsuits over commissions. And I mean, and the lawsuits continue against the National Association of Realtors and other trade groups. And so I think ultimately the future to being successful in real estate is kind of being a lean, mean, independent brokerage.
Yeah.
And so we're really looking at kind of the same, like I've always been big on, hey, let's grow numbers, how many sides of business and tracking commission and volume. And you do have to have metrics to know how your business is doing and to know that you have a good business. But we're really focused more also on just, hey, how can we better help people? How can we communicate better? We're really working hard at getting our team dialed in. We brought on a couple of great team members over in the Philippines that are working with us. We brought on some more local staff, really just to kind of support our mission of helping people reach their real estate goals, whether they're getting into an existing house, selling an existing home. We're dabbling in some new construction. We're going to, dive into the fix and flip market a little bit more, just because we have a really old stock of housing and a lot of homes that could really use a second chance, and people that are looking to get out of their homes as well. So we're really looking at that in the new year. I'm excited about that professionally, getting everyone and everything dialed in so we can be the best we can and, attract the right group of clients. Kayla, honestly, I'm looking at doing a little bit more flying this year too, just because of my passions, and also kind of working a plan to get my wife's time freed up a little bit more so she's not tied down as much, so she can maybe be a little bit more responsive, with just life and kids. And everything else. And then personally, I would say my biggest goal was health and wellness. I really just have not been putting enough attention there, and that's one of my huge goals for the year.
Are you going to do 75 hard again? Do you think you would do that?
I'm not going to do it again. I thought about it, but it kind of 75 hard, while it is good and it can get you there, it kind of feeds into the all or nothing
Yep.
mindset. And that's just not healthy, even if it is for a short time, it's just not sustainable. So I'm like, hey, how can I work hard? How can I put health and wellness and family first and foremost? I was listening to a podcast the other day, Kayla, a Tucker Carlson one, and just kind of talking about like the state of the healthcare system and everything, talking about, the murder of the United Healthcare CEO, and just kind of talking about how broken healthcare is and how the average person's on 4 prescriptions, and just how, basically the insurers and everything, the healthcare system basically profits off of it, and encouraging people to not be well. And so I'm just trying to take a whole different mindset, even, when it comes to health and wellness, and really be proactive.
I love that. And I agree with that. And I think too, like, I agree with you with the all or nothing mindset with 75 hard. Like, I think it's great for the right person. I also think too that, mental health is such a big deal too. And we don't often talk about that. And you would be shocked to hear the stories that you hear from like other women, or once you really like crack people or you get to know them. And we're in this mode of social media too, and you only see, what the good, right? And I think too, like, mental health focus is something that a lot more people are paying attention to. And also like what's in our food. I think it's important to know. And so I love that you're putting health and wellness at the forefront, because without that, you can't do your job. You can't be a great dad. You can't do any of those things. And we all know it, but it's just, it gets put on the back burner because everything else comes first. And the whole pouring from an empty cup thing is real. So I'm proud of you. That's awesome. So I can't wait to.
Yeah. Thanks, Kayla. What personal goals for you? What are you eyeing?
There's so many. I am back to reading again. I really want to put my phone down at night. I scroll. I don't know why. I think at the end of the day, I'm just so like, oh, okay, busy day. And it's like a mindless thing. But to kind of put that towards reading, I'm doing the Bible in a Year podcast. I'm doing that.
Oh, Mike Schmitz?
Yes. Doing that. So that's,
maybe we'll make a Catholic out of you if
maybe. I don't think so, but just things like that. And just really, Annie, trying to just be grateful. I think a lot of times we can forget how blessed we are. And I just want to be focused on the blessings I have, and just continue to keep mental health at the forefront and just being in the moment. I lost a really good friend last year suddenly. She was in her 50s. And I saw the way that she made an impact on this world, and that has stuck with me. And it's like, not necessarily like, what am I doing financially, or, what do I need to do to be successful? But it's like, how can I leave, an impact on someone else? So that's kind of my focus this year.
I love that. That's awesome.
And no one else knows this. We are doing a dog calendar. So that will be coming up sometime this year, with all the calendar pitties and selling them for to go to Homeward Animal Shelter. So
very nice.
Yeah. So more to come. I'll get you a copy.
Good for you. I like that. I really like those goals. I'm trying to be present, and it is so easy to just sit and scroll. And even my girls have told me, Dad, put your phone down. Dad, or even Ivy, who's not quite 2, will come up and say, Dad, I want to look at pictures. No, Ivy, we don't want to, but because she sees us on our phone, she does the same thing.
Yeah.
So you talk about gratitude, and you talk about, the Bible in a year. I try to start every day with a little bit of prayer, and even, just trying to approach it from, a place of gratitude. So just being thankful for everything. And even, sometimes if there is something challenging, being grateful, trying to look at it through the lens of gratitude. I think it makes sense. I'm also trying to read. I read a ton of Audible books, but I think, again, sometimes you're doing other things. You just can't totally remember it. So I'm trying to pick up the physical book. That probably is 175 hard piece. I try to do is read 10 pages a day. And one awesome book that I came upon that I've been listening on Audible, Kayla, Mel Robbins, the Let Them Theory. Are you a Mel fan?
I am. I was listening to her this morning. She was on the Skinny Confidential, and I was listening to her.
Really? Have you heard her talk about this book?
I have before, and literally yesterday, I was trying to use up all my Audible credits and just bought it. So it's hanging out in my queue. So have you started it?
I just actually picked it up myself because I did kind of Mel's end of the year. She has a really good, you know, end of the year or 2025. You know, if you look at her podcast, you can find it on Spotify or your favorite, you know, podcast feed. But she has a lot, and so she had a really good one for, you know, the 7 minutes to start 2025 right. And even just talks about even, and it might be another episode, but just actually taking the time answering, 7 questions, how to make, it's a little bit further down, how to make next year the best year. Ask yourself these 7 questions. So I actually went through it, and I've really enjoyed that book, Kayla. You know, it just talks about, there are a lot of things that we can't, you know, we can't change other people ultimately. And so when it comes, you know, to that, the Let Them Theory, you know, like Mel talks about the fact that she saw on social media that, a friend was on a trip. And then, I'm going to look at these pictures. And she realized it was a bunch of her friends and they were all on a trip without her. And it really hurt her. And we've all had an experience like that. But it just talks about, we can't affect other people and what they're going to do. But, you know, we can have the mindset of let them and just kind of release that. And so that's just a small snippet. She's getting a little bit deeper, but that's really an awesome book. Just as I've been talking with some other friends and people that I work with or do business with, that, you know, I mean, everybody is struggling with something, but just, it's like, wow, like this book is really powerful.
Well, and I think too, we are, like I said before, we're in this world where it's a lot of social media. You get in that game, that mindset of like, you know, comparison is a thief of joy. And also in our careers, there's no limit. You can help 100 clients this year, 200 the next year, 1,000 the next year. There's no limit. And I think we get in this, and I'm speaking for myself, but we get in this mindset of, I see someone else in another state doing more and they're doing this and doing that. But also remembering and this is another book that we can talk about, is the gap and the gain. It's like you don't look at how far you come. You're so focused on what, you know, is coming next that you just forget to be grateful. And I think about that a lot. And I also think with the Let Them Theory, you and I are hopping on a podcast weekly. You and I are active on social. There's a lot of people that aren't, and that's okay. But when you put yourself out there, it's really easy to get judged and criticized and critiqued and all these things. And I think the Let Them Theory is super important for us to think about, those that are, you know, on video a lot or putting ourselves out there, because everyone's going to have something good, bad, or indifferent to say.
Yeah, there are plenty of haters out there. And, you know, the more I do out there, and probably you too, Kayla, there are a lot of people I will hear from people weekly that, well, so-and-so said this about you, or so-and-so doesn't like you. And well, now I can just say, let them.
You let them. Yeah, let them. Although I can't imagine anyone saying that about you, Andy. But, you know,
plenty do.
But I will say, I do love everyone that listens, that makes a comment or shares that they appreciate us hopping on. Like, I'm so grateful for people that tune in and just kind of give us a little bit of credit for doing this, because it's time away from our jobs and our families and everything. But we're here to support and help others too. But we're also putting ourselves out there. So
absolutely. Well, cheers to season 3 to 2025.
Cheers.
For helping more clients and helping them thoughtfully. And I'm really excited to see what the year has in store, not only for us, Kayla, but also our clients and everyone around us.
I agree. Well, here's to looking up to 2025, and cheers to season 3.
Cheers. Have a great rest of the week, Kayla.
I will if you will.
See ya.
Bye.